another episode of the Speak Real podcast, sharing one-on-one conversations. We believe that storytelling is the best way to empower youth and give them the platform to find their voices.
Presented by YouthSpeak. Youth experience, youth voice, youth.
Hello, everyone.
Empowered.
Welcome to another episode of the Speak Real podcast. I'm here with my friend Shawn, which is very exciting. You may recognize if you follow the Instagram that we did an IG Live together, which is great, and you should go watch that as well. But hi, Shawn. How's it going?
I'm doing good, Alex. It's always good to hear from you.
Yeah, it's great. It was a long time before we did the IG Live, actually. That we saw each other, so it's nice to actually be seeing each other a bit more often now too.
Exactly.
And if people didn't know, it was actually World Autism Day a few weeks ago now. And at YouthSpeak, we are trying to kind of revolve months around special occasions and things that we see as important. So we decided to do a podcast with both me and Shawn about autism and being on the spectrum and all sorts of stuff. So I would like to start with kind of how would you define the autism spectrum? Kind of your definition of it.
So my definition of the autism spectrum would be always unique, because with both of us being both of us who live with autism and Asperger's, we've always been told by people that we are always unique because we're always creative on the spot. We're always visioning something ahead of time, what we want to plan out, what our future looks like as well.
That's an awesome definition. That's like one of my favorite. Yeah, and for sure, I know I've always been told that especially the way my brain works is really unique. And I think of things, I always notice, like, sometimes I think of things that I see as, I'm like, oh, that makes sense. Yeah, of course it would be that way. But someone else is like, wow, that's brilliant. I can't believe you thought of it that way. So it's kind of cool. It's definitely unique. So I want to start with a bit of introduction to yourself. I want to kind of start with a little recap of your story. Maybe how you got diagnosed, how you found it around school, especially, and stuff like that. Whatever you want to share.
Yeah, definitely. So I've been involved with YouthSpeak for 9 years now. I like to make that joke of that I'm the old guy of the program, or the veteran, I guess you can call it. And my story, I live with Asperger's syndrome. I go through anxiety, go through the odd days of depression here and there, just due to the amount of bullying that I experienced from public school, high school, and surprisingly, sad as it may sound, even college as well. So it took me a little bit, but eventually I found the courage to find that little voice that I knew I had, and kind of encouraged myself to, not be afraid to use it, to go ask for help. And, thankfully, my teacher at that time knew that I was struggling, knew that I was super shy, didn't even have the world's best social cues, even though I still find that relatively a challenge of mine now. But, thankfully, looking back now, I'm thankful I've asked for that help. And according to people that I've met over the years, I have a smile on my face that's apparently contagious.
Yeah, and I can absolutely agree with that. You have almost an energy that radiates like positivity and good vibes and good stuff, and I can totally relate to so many. And I think that's why I've loved getting to know you, as I can relate so much to your story, because people were always kind of mean to me because I was different, and I didn't like the same things, and I liked only one thing for most of my life. So that one thing, like, I slowly evolved out of that, but I found like school really difficult, and I was really bad with social cues. I'm still bad with social cues. I'll tell my whole life story to strangers and not realize that they don't want to hear my whole life story, and that's if I even talk to the stranger or leave my house in the first place. So it
Right.
still affects my day-to-day life, because some days I'm feeling like I want to go out and I want to talk to new people and I want to make friends, but the next day, it can crash down, and I isolate myself, and I can barely even muster the courage to talk to someone new. And I find especially my stress levels particularly affect that. Like, if I'm really, really anxious, I don't want to even think about meeting new friends. I don't even want to talk to my regular friends, like, I don't want to keep on top of it. I just want to play my video games and like focus in on one thing. But it's gotten so much better over the years because I've learned tools to kind of snap me out of those cycles, and keep me on the right track, especially and particularly with like socialization and keeping up with my friends and not isolating myself with my video games all the time, or my hockey, or because I don't know about you, but I could literally like sit in my room and play video games like all day, every day, and be happy. Like,
Well, it was like that for me when still is, but at the same time, I'm probably a lot like you. I need a routine through the day. Like, I'm somebody, if you change my routine, whether it be at work or just like even for the smallest things, and if I don't get any reasoning behind it, I legit will have a huge anxiety attack because of it.
yeah, I'm that way too, and I've noticed, especially as of lately, like I've had a lot of issues kind of controlling my emotions and regulating them, and like figuring out where they're coming from, because there's so much coming at me at once, that like I've even had issues like at my age having controlling um, my temper and my stress management, because I've started to even have anxiety. But I've noticed as I've gotten older, I've started to develop the tools where it's not, um, I guess, overbearing. You know what I mean? I still
Yeah.
feel it, but it's not like it doesn't feel the same way that it did. That's the only way I can explain it. It's great though, and I think that we will talk about tools a bit later on because they are really important. But yeah, I think it is important to address that. Like, sometimes it is okay not to be okay, and it is okay that sometimes you feel like it may be a little bit out of control, and you may be out of control, but you got to rein it in and kind of figure it out, because it is important to take care of yourself.
Exactly.
So on the autism spectrum, Shawn, where do you find yourself? Where do you identify with all that?
So I identify myself on the high functioning. So when I going back to, like, I guess kind of like the first question about how I found out when I was diagnosed. Um, my best memory of that was going down to sick kids, getting tests done by the doctors. It's like going through like the typical Asperger's, autism, or throwing out a new word, ASD level 1. Going through like that random behavior change, kind of like touching on what we were just talking about, like the social cues, anxieties through our routine changes to um like for me personally, my writing skills, even still to this day, I even have a hard time even reading my own writing.
Yeah, me too. Same with mine.
um, and even talking about a similar subject that I'd be interested in, like for kids now or youth now these days, like throwing this out as an example, like superhero wise, like say the Avengers would be somebody, like for example of some like a topic that that individual would want to chat about all the time, right? So thankfully in grade 4, I call it, thankfully, and being pretty thankful of finding out my diagnosis at a young age compared to say now sort of deal, right? Because at a young age, for parents, they can even get a head start on finding the proper support systems for their child to not only be successful with, but even for the parents' point of view too, knowing that okay, I'm pretty confident that with what they're involved with, I know they're going to be fine, 10, 15 years from now, sort of deal.
Yeah, yeah, and I also we're very much on the same scale of the spectrum as well. I also was I have Asperger's, and my first signs were I was really bad with my social interactions. I started to poke people with pencils, and I wasn't understanding why they were getting mad at me because I thought that was a totally normal thing that people did for some reason. I understand now that people don't just poke people with pencils over and over, but I couldn't understand why they'd get mad at me and they'd snap at me because I thought I was being funny. So I had a lot of issues with socialization and making friends. I spend a lot of time alone. And I was really, really focused about hockey and space. I've always really loved space. Um, and I was really honed in. I remember from like my dad told me from a really young age, I had like all the statistics memorized from all the teams. Like I could recite every NHL team's like goals, like wins, losses. Uh, I wish I was that. I mean, it's a blessing and a curse that I'm not that hyper focused on it anymore because that's pretty cool. But it was it was really something that I honed in on. And that was also my speech was I spoke very properly. I repeated words after themselves, which I still do to this day. I get words in my head and I'll just knock them out and can't stop saying them. Um, and yeah, I also went to a really, really nice doctor who, it wasn't scary at all. He was a really nice person and he walked me through it. So it was a really good experience and really easy. Honestly, I just went through, I think my parents went through my family doctor as well.
Yeah, kind of like what you were going through, what you were just mentioning about the hockey in space. I mean, it's like with all joking aside, like for me, it's always been like dinosaurs, and even I'm a bit of a history buff myself, right? Like I always love learning new things about history, whether it be like the First World War, um, the Second World War, for example, as well. And I can remember in high school, actually, um, we were doing the Second World War uh, as our huge topic and aced everything like no problem.
Yeah, honestly, I didn't know you were a history buff too. I knew about the dinosaurs, but that's awesome because I'm also really, really into history.
Hmm.
But yeah, we were actually talking about dinosaurs just before we started recording this. So that's really cool. And I know how much you love dinosaurs, and it's definitely something I'm interested in too. And I'm definitely a history person too. So it's cool that we have so many similarities as well.
Hmm.
Um, on that, you gave me, speaking of history, you actually gave me a history lesson the other day about the name Asperger's. So the name is changing from Asperger's to autism spectrum disorder. How do you feel about this change? And can you kind of talk about the history behind that a little bit?
Honestly, the change doesn't even bug me, to be honest with you.
Yeah, me too. I feel the same way.
So, a little bit about the history lesson on Asperger's and where the name came from and all that. So, going back to going back to the Second World War, actually, there was a guy by the name of Hans Asperger's. He was a German guy. That's where the name came from his last name. And just to keep this, a little short and brief, but the what they found out from Hans was he was affiliated with the Nazis. And I'm actually, which I know I'm probably going to discuss in a little bit, I'm actually on a board of directors for a non-for-profit charity organization called the ASO, Asperger's Society of Ontario. So the reason why for the name change to the ASO actually was we didn't want to have people think that we're affiliated with we're a Nazi affiliated company. We're wanting to make a change over to the ASO to make it more autism affiliated as well.
Which is great, and I think it's a great change. And again, I have no issues with the change. I think anything to kind of disassociate from anything like that is a positive thing.
Mhm.
I want to know, what are some things that, if someone has never known anyone on the autism spectrum, what are some things you want them to take away?
Whether maybe like in a workplace setting, or even like what you and I are doing right now. Um, the one thing that, I guess like for both of us, for people to take away would be passionate. Two things actually, or three. Passionate, caring, and also empathetic as well.
I love that, and I think that's really important, is knowing that we do feel empathy, because I think that is a misconception, is that we don't feel emotion. But I always say that I always feel almost too much emotion. It's like everything's coming at me lightning fast. So my empathy, I may not express it the same way, but I definitely feel it, and especially with other people who are on the spectrum.
Exactly. Like for me personally, whether I feel kind of empathy or a certain type of emotion, it is tough for me to get out.
Yeah, for sure. Um, and I know right now you're working during the pandemic, uh, both online and in the real world. How's
Mhm.
that been for you?
Like for many people, it's been an up and down roller coaster of emotion. Um, like to be honest with you, if I had like a real choice, I feel a lot safer honestly doing online because
Yeah, for sure.
I was actually second week in January of the new year. I was actually tested positive myself, and it was a bit of a shock for me going, oh boy, here we go. But, thankfully I didn't have it as bad as most people that you hear nowadays that get hit with COVID pretty bad. Like for me, it was just, it almost felt like a really bad case of smoker's cough and just fatigue and super exhausted every day and just not really wanting to do anything.
And I can't even, like, I know the anxiety that comes with being autistic too. So I can't even imagine like the anxiety that you must have felt when you did test positive. It must have been uh, really, really tough.
Oh yeah, because I love helping people, whether it be people I'm working with or either here at home because I do live with my mom and my grandparents, and all three of them can't really do a whole heck of a lot with like shoulder mobility, for an example, right? I mean, it's getting to the point where they can't even say reach for a coffee cup.
Yeah, it's tough, eh?
Hmm.
Um, I'm so glad that you're better. I remember when you did get diagnosed, and I remember I was definitely worried, but I'm glad it was just minor. I'm glad that you sent updates too. So we all knew that you were doing okay. Speaking of the ASO, do you want to tell us a little bit about them and what makes them a little bit different than other known organizations?
Yeah, definitely. So my involvement with the ASO actually began when I started YouthSpeak. Um, my mom was looking up some charities because she saw that there was a 10K in Toronto, just on Yonge Street coming up, and it was actually my first time actually running a 10K. And then she came across they named the Asperger Society of Ontario, and she looked at me and said, you know, get involved with these guys, and it'll get you out more, meeting people and that. And I was like, you know what, let's do it. And that's how my involvement really began with them. At first, I started out as a volunteer fundraiser to now being on the board of directors with them. And just to name two awesome things that we do with them, that we offer actually, is that there's our action line, which they can call up and we can direct them to the proper support systems. Like, say, I'm looking for a job. Can you connect me with the proper resources to help look for a job with Walmart, for example, right? And another one that we do, and I'm pretty thankful that I helped kind of kickstart and even co-facilitate, which is the Peers Connection Group, which we meet every other Monday towards the end of the month. And the cool thing was our first meeting went so well, actually. We had a young guy, I want to say maybe about our age, maybe a year or two older, joined us, who's also on the spectrum, and he joined us all the way from Japan. So that was a pretty cool experience.
Oh wow, that's awesome.
Mhm.
That's like super far too, eh?
Yeah.
And
So
was
it's
this
pretty
over
cool.
Zoom as well, or?
No, it was actually through Google Meets.
Oh wow, that's incredible.
Hmm.
And I know the good work that you do, and I know the good work that that group does. I actually had the pleasure of being able to chat at an AGM, and that was super fun. I got to share some coping tools that help me with my routine, um, which I always love to do. But definitely, if you haven't heard of them before, make sure you look them up. They are a great organization. Um, and what are some other resources that you would consider kind of healthy resources, good for people who may not understand life on the spectrum, or maybe living on the spectrum and may not understand themselves fully yet?
So, like, other resources that they can look up to help out more, or
Yeah, it can be like I don't know, um, anything. Don't worry, I'll cut all this stuff out. It can be like books, like I don't know, like a website, another organization, a speaking gig, like I know
okay.
Toastmasters has helped. Yeah, all right, yeah, something like that. Take it away, buddy.
Yeah, so other organizations carries place in community living and have always been a great help. In terms of uh, YouTube, even like TED Talk as well. There's a friend of mine, I can say, with honesty, he actually does a much better job advocating. He's been doing it a lot longer than I have, actually. His name's his name is Daniel Strom, and just look him up on YouTube, TED Talk. I think he did one either with Queen's University or out in York University.
That's awesome. I'm actually gonna look that up as well once we're done filming this. So I want to know, what do you think the connection is between autism and mental health, specifically anxiety? Because I know my anxiety has gotten really bad at times, and it's definitely been something that I've had to learn how to cope with throughout my life.
So like for me personally, like I said before, like the anxiety and depression part comes and goes with me. Like the anxiety part, for me personally, it can be from thinking way too much to the point where I'm actually not sleeping at all at night. And what would help me out with that is, breathing exercises, mindfulness related exercises. And the depression part, um, that comes and goes here and there. Like I feel like that comes in waves. Like actually, yeah, I was feeling a little down today because I had so much going on, so many exciting stuff today. And then when today came, it was like, okay, what's happening? Why am I feeling down? Why is this normal?
Yeah, and I can totally relate on that as well. My depression definitely comes in waves. Some days are better than others. Some weeks are better than others. Some months are better than others. But even anxiety, I know like I would get usually 4 to 5 hours of sleep every night, even though I know I need more. But my anxiety will just wake me up, and I can't get back to sleep. Um, so that's definitely something I struggle with too, is staying asleep. So I can
Mm.
empathize. It's brutal, especially when you just want to sleep. Eh?
Yeah, especially when you have so much on your mind.
Yeah, it's almost like my mind is. I don't know if it's the same for you. It's almost like my mind is like in hyperdrive and it won't shut down without, I guess, like soothing it through breathing or through. I do warm milk with honey.
Okay.
Um, I haven't done that for a while actually. I should buy some honey and do that. But that's really calmed me down. But right now I do a lot of deep breathing and pressure. Pressure really helps me. Um, and I also it sounds silly, but stimming helps me a lot and calms me down.
Okay.
So just letting loose and letting myself. If you've noticed in the podcast, my head has gone a couple of times. That's just my own ticks and my own stims, and it helps me kind of relax myself. And if I keep those pent up, I don't know if you stim the same. Everyone stims differently, but if I keep it pent up, I feel weird in my own skin almost. It's almost like I can't go on until I get it out.
Okay.
But yeah, that's basically how I've helped myself through my anxiety and through my depression. And especially, I've learned just being myself. It's the coolest part because people do. I remember in high school, I was so embarrassed whenever I would either tap or my head would flap or I would rock back and forth. I do a rocking thing. Especially if I stand up, I rock back and forth on both my feet. And I would be
Yep.
so embarrassed in high school. But now I'm just like, I'm cool. This is unique. My friends think it's cool. Like, I don't have a problem with it. And I think it's something that makes me me. And I think that's really important is even if you do have things that I guess are outside of the norm, it's still uniquely you and you're a cool person, you know?
Exactly. Like the flapping and the rocking part. I think all of us, been there, done that. Um, I'll still do it here and there too. Like when I first started working, um, I did bring that up and kind of disclosed, hey, just a heads up, I do live with Asperger's, and they say, oh, thank you for um, telling us that. And lately, just recently, I've even had a few coworkers, associates even reach out to me to even pick my brain about autism and Asperger's as well.
That's amazing. And you're so knowledgeable about it. So I'm not surprised at all. Um,
Mm.
and with that, I want to talk about the positive aspects. So, what are some really positive things that you see autism has brought into your life?
People relating to also surprising yourself, thinking that others can't see people with autism or Asperger's doing. which you do super well with. Like, to be honest with you, like, you know how when you go into a Walmart or even a Costco and you see people um, controlling those power jack machines, where
Yeah,
they
yeah,
bring out, say, cases of water, dog food, or just to name a few. So I actually have my license for that, and it's something that I never thought I have going on.
that's amazing. And I think that's something that needs to be brought up too, is that like people who are on the spectrum go on to live totally normal lives. Like I have a partner. I'm in the process of trying to get a house. And I've learned, as much as I hate cooking, I've learned how to cook. I've learned how to do my laundry. I've learned how to clean my room. Um, I still won't do wet food all that much because I don't like the texture. But I'll do the dishes and stuff. So I think it's important to note that like just because we do have autism doesn't mean we don't go on to live normal lives and have normal jobs. And I guess what I'm trying to say is we can be anyone's daughter, father, mother, son. There's no limits to it, right?
Exactly. Or kind of leading on to what you were saying too, like the even potentially, like even I hate math, like even budgeting. We're all gonna have to go through that at some point.
Oh, big time. It's so funny because I hated math growing up, but again, space became a huge focus. So like, I'm like, I have to learn math if I like space because space is so mathematic. Um, but I also I tricked myself into liking it, but I also no, I'm not a math person whatsoever. I know, and we talked about routine a little bit. Are there any specific routines that kind of help with your day to day, especially uh, when things get difficult and things get shifted up? Because I know when things get shifted up for me, I kind of go into an anxiety spiral, panic. Is there anything that's really helped you with your routine and keeping it in check?
So, kind of like going back to what I was saying, how I first got involved with the ASO, um, running, CrossFit has been a huge important important part of my routine actually. Like I actually like getting it done early in the morning just to help wake me up a little more. And if
Yeah.
somebody changes that, it's like, okay, what's the reasoning?
Yeah, I'm that way too. I know for me, I wake up at 5 in the morning, and I'll just go out and go sit in the living room. So if that routine is disrupted at all, I get nervous, I get anxious. I go and try and find like a small place that I can go be alone for a bit. I just thought, yeah, I'm very routine driven as well. And if I forget my routine, I forget to brush my teeth, I forget to shower. I'll forget to eat even and drink water because I'll just focus on something for so long. So it's been really beneficial to have, especially for me. I have um, little reminders on my phone from time to time that go off. Um, if I do forget, but I rarely forget because my brain's so locked in on my routine that it knows exactly what it's doing every single day, which is nice.
Nice.
Do you have any more tools that you'd like to share that have helped you specifically? Just wrapping up. You have been amazing, by the way, as usual. It's been a great discussion. It's been fantastic having you on. Um, and yeah, any tools that have helped you out?
So running, CrossFit, learning about dinosaurs is obviously. And also I've gotten slowly have been um, photography.
Oh wow, really? Eh?
hmm I mean,
That's
like
awesome.
nothing. I mean, like nothing beats just going outside for like a good 45 to even a couple hours, taking some photos, even bringing your dog along as well too, just to get him outside for a bit too.
That's awesome. I didn't know you were into food. Even just like being outside too, right? It's a good excuse to go outside and take pictures and do stuff like that.
Hmm.
And I know for me, especially team sports, hockey really helped me socialize, because it was people who liked the same thing that I did, but they also like different stuff. So I learned that not everything was about hockey. Um, and I started to learn that I can make friends, and like different things as well. Um, I do a lot of deep breathing, which helps me especially when I feel panicked. And
Hmm.
meditation has really helped over the years too. And just talking about it. Even I always say, if I don't know what I'm feeling, I'll go to someone I trust and say, I don't know what I'm feeling, but I'm not feeling good. And that's all I need to say. I've told someone, I've gotten it off my chest, and they know if I'm a little bit snippy that day or if I have a meltdown, because I do still melt down. It's a reality of things. If I have a meltdown, they know why, and it's not out of the blue or it's shocking for them. So I think talking about what's going on has been the best tool that I've given myself, honestly.
Hmm.
Awesome. So thank you so much, Shawn. It's been amazing. And again, it's been great just catching up uh, outside of recording this as well. It's been another amazing episode of the Speak Real uh, podcast. We will be joined next month with another amazing special guest. I learned a lot from Shawn, as I always do. Uh, and it's been a great discussion. I hope it drives discussion in your household and within your friend group. Make sure that you check out the ASO as well as YouthSpeak. And you can find us on social media, and you can check out the website at youspeak.ca for a bit more information about us. So again, thank you so much, Shawn. It's been amazing.
Thank you as always.
And yeah, do you have any last words that you'd like to leave the audience with?
Stay safe out there.
Awesome. That's great words. I agree with that. Stay safe, everyone. And thanks so much, Shawn. We'll see you guys next month.
If you want to hear more stories, don't forget to subscribe, comment, and like. To support more youth by youth led projects, visit us at youthspeak.ca, where you can donate and spread youth mental health awareness.
YouthSpeak Performance Charity. Speak, inspire, change.